Reject humanity. Return to monk. It's been 28 years since Rare's release of Donkey Kong Country, and I finally got to play it. Although it wasn't on the original console and was played through the Switch, it's all about the experience. I'll start out by saying, if you were a kid playing this game on its original hardware, I may have died over 200 times, but it was because I kept wanting to explore the beauty of the game, and I might have maybe been using save states on top of that. But hey, how am I going to abuse a tool that was given to me? So let's talk about it. Donkey Kong Country. Your first introduction to the Donkey Kong Country series starts with the graphics. Being greeted by the wonderful title screen starring Cranky Kong, you can already see that these characters are not your normal 2D sprites. If I were a kid in the 90s, I'd probably be shitting bricks seeing 3D monkeys. Nowadays, fans of course say that the visuals are a nightmare to look at, but personally, I love this 3D model aesthetic that the whole series took on for the SNES. At the time, artists of Donkey Kong Country basically built high-resolution 3D animation models using a supercomputer. These 3D animation models were then compressed into 2D sprites, which resulted in much of the detail and texture being preserved. This use of pre-rendered 3D graphics in video game home consoles was the first of its kind and pioneered this tech. Every character in this game is seen the same way. The buddies you can ride, aquatic enemies, ground enemies, Kremlings, bosses, and even the Kong family are made up of these pre-rendered 3D graphics. Hey, Candy Kong, I would love to take a quick spin in your save barrel. The same can be said with the levels as well. Going through each stage and being able to witness this odd 3D yet 2D style of graphics is a really different take. Just look at these trees, man. Those are some nice trees. And by the way, I died over 200 times in this game because I wanted to take in the beauty of these graphics. Following your introduction to the game, loading in has the player hit with the music. This game has banger after banger after banger. You turn on the game and you're met with this sweet old monkey cranking a vinyl player. Then Donkey Kong comes swinging in with this boom boom back boom boom back boom boom back boom boom boom. The stage selection screen is dialed back with this quirky piano tune that just shifts things up a bit and lets you know that, hey, this is an easygoing game. Just have some fun. Oh, but when you load into the first level, you get hit with this funky jungle track. You can feel the intensity of this jungle building up. It's all in that backbone of the bass. The island swing theme is what I consider to be Donkey Kong's theme song. I remember listening to this song so much on Super Smash Bros. 64 and just thinking about how memorable it is. The man behind it all was David Wise, a Rare employee which is now most known for his contribution to the Donkey Kong Country series. Within 3 years of development, Wise had actually created music for all 3 Country games, Donkey Kong Land, and Diddy Kong Racing. He managed to make hits such as Aquatic Ambience, Bonus Room Blitz, Life in the Mines, and the glorious Gangplank Galleon. The music is so good. The reason I died over 200 times in the game was because I wanted to take in the beauty of the music. To be fair though, graphics and music are only part of a game. We have to talk about the gameplay. This is where I had some issues with the game. Technically, there are passes for it though because it is an older game, but these issues mostly come from the clunkiness of the controls. Although I loved how responsive actions were with buttons, I struggled a lot with hitboxes and getting the timing of jumps correctly. I think the level many fans could agree on as one of the worst was level 8, Minecart Carnage. I know that it was probably in the developer's eyes to try and make this level as challenging as possible, but jumping into the level, no slowing down, having to make jumps where sometimes you can't see what's ahead, and having Kremlings thrown at you was honestly one of the worst times I had in this game. I specifically had trouble making jumps over abandoned minecarts because I was either jumping too early or too late. This not only happened in this level though, time after time I would make jumps and would clip an enemy that would cause me to lose a life. When it came to riding buddies, I had issues mainly jumping with Rambi and Winky as for whatever reason they would do a hop right before a bigger jump. Trying to jump with Winky on tires was just extremely frustrating on its own. Other than that, I love the tag team ability for the Kongs and the balanced stats between the two, with Donkey Kong being a much more powerful fighter and Diddy being much more agile. Their rolling abilities to me felt the most fun to play with just because of how fast you can get them moving. It's all about the speedrunner's delight, baby. To tie in everything for the game, let's talk about the story. According to the manual, Donkey Kong puts his nephew Diddy Kong in charge of overnight banana horde watch when all of a sudden a couple of King K. Rool's Kremling minions sneak in, steal all of DK's bananas, and lock Diddy Kong in a barrel, only for Cranky Kong to discover him missing in the morning. This act calls for Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong to go throughout the DK Island in order to collect every single banana gone missing. You travel to 40 levels spanning 6 worlds being Congo Jungle, Monkey Mines, Vine Valley, Gorilla Glacier, Kremkrock Industries, and finally Chimp Caverns. At the end of each world, a boss is faced. Very Naughty, Master Necky, Queen Bee, Really Naughty, Dumb Drum, Master Necky Sr., before facing the final boss, King K. Rool, on his ship, the Gangplank Galleon. Once again, the only reason I died over 200 times in the game was because I wanted to fully take in this story. Overall, it's a pretty simple story for a simple game to follow. But did you also know that there is an even simpler game to play? Ever heard of Donkey Kong Country for the Game Boy Advance?